following is a presentation of the High Spot Podcast. Making their way to the ring, talking about the world of professional wrestling, the team of Jeff Martin and the trendsetter Brian Perga, the Jersey Wrecking Crew.
You're listening to the High Spot Podcast. The Jersey Wrecking Crew is at sea at the Rock and Wrestling Rager. Chris Jericho's, man, what a great time we're having. Follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Trendsetter, how you doing, man? What a trip, what a trip, what a trip, Trendsetter.
Wow, say that 3 times fast, Jeff. Yeah, exactly. We're here. It's actually physically happening, something that we had built up in our minds. Seemed like forever, actually anticipating this more than Christmas because this is the first time ever. Very few times, guys, in the world of professional wrestling do you get a few first-time evers, and we've been part of quite a few now here in 2018, so just so exciting. The build-up was here, and it's finally happening. We're on the boat.
Yeah, we are on the boat, so we've chronicled our adventures. Days 1 and 2 have been broken down, and of course 3 and 4 also. It's a 4-day cruise. We're going to talk about so many things, like watching Fozzy live in person. Also talk about our excursion that we're going to do once we hit Nassau. We're going to do, I think, a private beach, so that's going to be interesting too. So a lot to talk about too. Might get a little bit of Crown Jewel, just the main event prediction here as well. But Trendsetter, without further ado now, let's get to our adventures. This episode will be entitled The Diaries of the High Spot Podcast at Sea at the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen to our shenanigans so far, days 1 and 2. You're listening to a very special High Spot Podcast. You hear that, Trendsetter? It's my drink right there. It's my drink in my hand, and the audience has no idea what it is. So we're gonna leave it up to their imagination. This is a High Spot Podcast here at sea. We're in the Bahamas, almost close to Nassau, and we've had the first 2 days here at the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager. And wow, man, we're just coming off a great performance by Chris Jericho himself and Fozzy. Maybe we're not gonna have voices later on, so we're gonna record it here today. But again, this is the High Spot Podcast on the Cheap Pops Podcast Network, on the Shining Wizards and B Post Player, and also
Let's get rid of all the formalities, Jeff. Yes, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, like us, check out all our social media platforms. You can check out the High Spot Podcast. Let's get it out of the way because what a trip it's been. It really has been. I mean, we're here, guys, in our cabin. And right now we're taking a little break, so decided to record this.
For 2.
Yes, decided to record this for you guys to kind of give you our experience and what it's been like on this cruise ship. So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you first. Has it lived up to your expectations? What are the positives first and foremost?
Wow, there's been so many new things that I've experienced so far, but you said the great things first. Let's do the great things first, man. Chris Jericho and Fozzy killed it. We got here the first day. We weren't able to have good seats the last time we were up on the higher decks, so we couldn't see as well. But we were able to get like second row this time. We were, as soon as Ring of Honor was over, because they had the Sea tournament, 30 minutes later, Fozzy was going to come on, so he comes on, and that was one of the best concerts I've ever seen them perform. They're amazing, and I can't say enough. This may actually be the Kiss Chris Jericho's Ass episode on the High Spot Podcast, but man,
it'll be a first for you. I've done plenty of those episodes myself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. What can I say, man? Let's just talk about like getting here, which is crazy. It's 2.5 hours from New Jersey to Miami.
So they say. The flight felt like more like 4.5 hours.
We got out of a nor'easter. Man, it looked bad. We didn't think we were gonna be able to fly, but knock on whatever on our table here, you can't hear it, but we were able to get out, and we get to Miami. Nice muggy 87 degrees. I'm not complaining, and we get to the port. And everyone's telling us that the Norwegian Jade is a beautiful ship, beautiful vessel. And they're right. We get there, we check in, everything's cool. Get these cool badges. We feel like we're part of the trip already. We get high fives coming up. And then the wait for the rooms a little bit. People were getting antsy. But after that, man, like when you go out to the pool deck and you see Fozzy perform, and then you realize, man, I'm this on this wrestling rager. So so far, good things. The food's been amazing, man. How many times have we gone down to the buffet?
I don't know. I've probably coming back knowing I've probably gained 20 pounds of food.
Yeah.
Normally I don't eat that much, but for some reason, I guess it has something to do with the sea air. Jeff talked about how he gets thirsty, like he needs a drink. I need to eat, like I'm just that thirsty and hungry sometimes. And you're right. I didn't know what to expect. We obviously got on the boat. We had to deal with a lot of things that I wasn't particularly happy for in terms of the services. But again, you get past that. Saw Fozzy perform, saw some wrestling, and first day was more of kind of a wait and see and like run around like crazy trying to
find where everything is.
where everything was, and that was the most difficult part, trying to find where it was. Second, third day, not so bad. We kind of knew where we were going now, so it wasn't that bad. And I gotta be honest, the biggest thing that I was concerned about, Jeff, honestly, when we were gonna go on this cruise and we had planned it literally since last year. That's how long it's been when this whole thing got planned. I was more worried about, was I going to get seasick? Because I'd been on a boat before, but guys, this is going like through the Hudson River or something like that.
Yeah, like a ferry,
It's
like
a ferry. Yeah, and it's nothing like this, so not that bad. Though I'll be honest. Sometimes when you're laying in bed or
on
you're
the
sitting
toilet. Let's be
down,
honest, when you're on the toilet, you feel like it's rocking.
well, not for me. Well, maybe it's rocking for you
It
for
rocked
different
for me,
reasons.
man.
For me, it's like you're sitting at a table trying to eat your food, and your food's moving away from you. And you're like, "Is the food alive?" No, it's just moving because the boat's rocking. That's it. So.
Yeah. So yeah.
And there's
So
actually, guys, a basketball court on this cruise too. And Jeff and I are going to play basketball 1-on-1. We'll try to film some of it and put it on YouTube. That'd be kind of funny. First time the trendsetter and my tag team partner will play
kicking my
on a
ass
boat.
on international waters. That's what the translator wants to document. But let's talk about day one. So day one, we're there, and it's time for the Sea of Honor tournament. It got started in great fashion. We don't want to spoil everything, but I think that the match of that day was LAX versus the Young Bucks, the first Ring of Honor versus Impact match that they had, and then I would say an honorable mention was one of the qualifiers between Flip Gordon and Silas Young. So I think that was a pretty good match as well too. But I give LAX credit, man. We kind of got to know him for a little bit, outside of of the interviews and stuff like that. And man, they totally killed it. To me, Trendsetter, I think at the end of the match we were like, boy, these guys could fight a million times and would never get old. That's how good they put on a show. It's like they're destined to fight, for a long, long time. Just like you had the Briscoes and the Young Bucks. Like every time they fight, it's gonna be awesome. Pretty much every time LAX and the Young Bucks fight, it's gonna be awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, considering the fact that this is really the first time they've ever really, been in the same ring together, let alone worked with one another. So what I found really impressive is not only how good LAX is, but also seeing how good the Young Bucks are. But what I fascinated me, guys, and you'll see it if you download the Fight app and watch this. The timing was just so good, and I mentioned this to the guys, and I was like, it's amazing how you guys have never worked together. And what you and I talk about, like chemistry, is such an important thing, especially when you don't have to be an expert in it. You just know when something's clicking well, and those two teams just clicked so well that I could honestly see a best of 7 series. They could do the exact same move set or whatever we want to call it, and it would still be fresh and crisp. It wouldn't miss a spot. I think this just kind of showcases why, growing up, Jeff, when I watched wrestling, I loved tag team wrestling so much, because there's something that enthralled me. The pacing, the timing, the storytelling, the psychology is just so different, and it gets you so involved and so invested in fall after fall, close finish after close finish, who's coming in for the hot tag, who's coming in for the save. So all those elements make tag team wrestling so exciting for me. It's something I love. So it's great to see teams like the Young Bucks. It's great to see teams like LAX and all the hard work that they've done to get to the position they are now. We've seen them kind of go through that process. It's so rewarding feeling as a fan, not just dissecting or being, host like we are and talking about wrestling. Just to sit back and watch it as a fan It's probably one of the most rewarding feelings I had, especially on night one, and thinking to myself, wow, this is night one, and how cool is this? It definitely sets the bar high when you looked at the quality of the ring with Impact talent and Ring of Honor talent collaborating for the first time. It's a pretty cool dynamic.
Yeah, I think a tournament works here, especially when you have such a big prize as being a future contender for the Ring of Honor World Championship. So I think that's a great, character to put in front of these wrestlers, so to speak. Um, yeah, really well done. And Brian said a whole lot about LAX and the Young Bucks, which these are two of the best tag teams in the world today that aren't in WWE, and the future's bright in tag team wrestling for these guys, and certainly, of course, with everything going on with the Young Bucks, and with the decision they have to make pretty soon, stay or they go. If they stay, you can see LAX and the Young Bucks fight 100 more times, and I promise you guys, you won't get tired of it. Yeah, how about the whole atmosphere? How about the pool area and just the atmosphere of the fans, man? They have made this a amazing experience from the get go. The excitement, just Jericho, I think has done something here that hasn't been done before. And just talk about the fans, man. Just talk about the atmosphere when you walk in here. Everyone's just happy. Everyone's looking forward to the festivities. The fans here, man, the wrestling fans, give it up to them, man, because it is an experience like no other.
Well, yeah, you give it up to the fans because they're the ones that, Chris Jericho has a name, he has a brand, which he talks about a lot, and, his following is his following. But honestly, if the idea was Chris Jericho's, and he wanted to do it, and he believed in himself enough to do it, Jeff. But really, if it wasn't for the backing and supporting of the audience, of the fans of Jericho, as we used to use that term and that pun, none of this happens at all either. So huge credit to them. It really feels like, the first time we went to All In and StarCast, historic moment. Now for the High Spot podcast and for us, the Jersey Writing Crew, to be part of this. First time ever. I mean, you've had the Wrestle Vessel, you've had other
the Bruise
Cruise, some collaborations of something like it, but never to this extent, where you're combining music, entertainment, professional wrestling, all that stuff combined with the atmosphere there. Really cool atmosphere and very laid back. I mean, every once in a while, I'll say Jeff, because some people don't like to say it, but sometimes you'll get those obnoxious fans.
Oh man!
And they're on this cruise. They were part of StarCast as well.
I think they know it all. They know all the latest rumors. The not groupies, because that would mean that they sleep with the wrestlers, but the ones that are. Man, how can I say? Because we love all our wrestling fans, but that's stereotype. And the funny thing is not the guys. It's more like it's funny. Like the ladies here, they love their.
Well, it's a collaboration of both, and when you add alcohol in the situation, it's not going to make things worse.
How popular is Marty with the females?
Marty's popular to everybody, especially Jeff. Jeff loves it, and what I wanted to get to is the mere fact that when you talk about what happened in Chicago that we did. It was cool because some of them were in the same hotel. Some stars were in different hotels. Some went to the Marriott. Some went places closer to where All In was going to be. But you would bump into wrestlers while walking through StarCast. Here, there's no choice. You will bump into everybody because everybody's on the same boat. Everybody's in the same area. And so you're running into SCU. You're running into the villain, Marty. You're running into Flip Gordon. You're running into Hangman Page. I go to the gym to work out, and I'm working out alongside guys like Cody Rhodes. Brandy's there. I know I said Cody Rhodes. That's his name. I know it. I'm not obligated by Ring of Honor to say him. Just Cody. Hangman. Jay Briscoe. I mean, the list goes on and on. People you just bump into in just these areas that everybody has to use. And everybody, for the most part that I've seen, I don't know about you, Jeff, tell me if it's different, is so chilled and laid back. Of course, they'll go up to them sometimes, say hello or great match, and they say appreciate it. But for the most part, everybody's been really respectful and left them alone. I think they appreciate that as well.
Briscoe's amazing dudes. I took a picture with them. We'll have that up there. It should be up there by the time this comes out. Really.
Oh, you took a picture with them?
I took a picture with them.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I didn't know that. I have yet to take a picture with a wrestler yet. I'm more like
Flip. I got the funny story of Flip is that these guys down the pool are actually doing moves. Actually, do Flip's kind of like some of his gimmick stuff that he does, and Flip was watching and kind of like got called out, and Flip was yelling down from the deck. He was like, "Hey, that's my gimmick." Comes down.
Stop stealing it.
Yeah, comes down, and then he proceeds to flip from one of the rails and does like a moonsault onto the water, and man, it was crazy, man. That was awesome. That's the kind of interaction that you see here. Dalton Castle's walking around here.
Matt Taven.
Yeah, Taven again. Awesome guys, and that's the thing too, man. These are so, even if you approach them, like, sometimes you're like shy or you're quiet. Like if you go say to a WWE wrestler, you're can I have your autograph? Oh, okay, take a picture. These guys are so laid back. You just, you can make convo with them, and you won't really be afraid to. They're not gonna turn you down. They're not gonna shut you out. You know what I mean? They have to be some crazy predicament, but these guys are awesome dudes, man. You said you went to the gym and stuff like that. Let's talk about a little bit before we go into day 2. We had the Talk of Jericho podcasters, Remember and Eddie. You had Rey Mysterio on the panel, who actually is here, and WWE tried to keep him from coming on the Jericho cruise, but he's here, so that's awesome. And then you had Diamond Dallas Page and Conan, and Remember and Eddie, man, and that was a good thing. They got like a ring on stage in the Stardust Theater, and that was pretty cool, man. A life-size ring.
I'm sure it was there so people could practice, before they got their matches.
True.
I was thinking, why was their stage set up in one of the, funny called the Stardust Room, right? For Cody, I guess, if that was made up for. But yeah, I was thinking maybe it's for them to practice, to get ready, because, when you go out there, you can't really practice because the ring's kind of somewhat disassembled when you're looking at the pool deck. But yeah, no, definitely a cool dynamic to be in the ring with all those individuals, Conan, Rey Mysterio, and Diamond Dallas Page. And, it wasn't what I expected the podcast to be. But again, it's Jericho's show. I just hope maybe in the near future they do decide to talk about Eddie again. They could talk about maybe, like I told you before, while Jeff and I were eating the 100th time at the buffet. Great food, by the way. Just Eddie's impact on the business, the lives he's touched, any lasting impact he had on Chris's life, DDP's life, Rey Mysterio. What were their initial reactions when they found out Eddie's passing? Because they have moments like this, Jeff, right? And even WWE sometimes brings it up, but I don't think he's talked about enough anymore in terms of, and I would hate to see a guy like Eddie Guerrero and everything he's done in his career, Latino Heat, and how we've watched him progress when we first started watching him in WCW till now in the WWE, and then his passing. I hate for that to just be like thrown in water under the bridge, like nobody remembers.
I don't think so, because why would they're just doing right now a tribute to him. So
yeah, but they're not associated with WWE except Rey Mysterio. The point I'm trying to make is, for it to be more known. I mean, you have the Mae Young Classic, you have, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Dusty Rhodes has that tag team tournament in NXT. Could there be something maybe for Eddie that we can always remember him for?
I mean, I guess so, but I think as far as like keeping the memory alive, I think Chris Jericho did a good job on this one. I just wish the only thing I wish is that they would talk about, like you said, more about when they heard about Eddie passing. I love the stories. I love the stories, and you'll hear it on a future episodes of Talk is Jericho. This show. I love the memories. I love DDP from the angle he knew him, in the WCW days, but just a little bit more stuff like currently and stuff like that, But good to see Rey Mysterio on the cruise. Glad that he wasn't held back from WWE from being on here, because it would have been weird not having Rey, not there, not be able to talk about Eddie.
Oh yeah, it would be disappointing not to have Huevito there, because
Huevito,
yeah, that's his name, Huevito. According to Eddie,
called him. Yeah.
That's what he called him, and that's kind of what I call you sometimes, Joe.
Yeah.
You're my little Huevito, pero
Pero
talking my Spanish, exactly. Pero qué voy a hablar más de Eddie Guerrero? I don't know, man. It was cool first night. A lot of things happened. We're dead exhausted because we had gotten up super early, so it was a really long day for us, and especially knowing myself and Jeff were last-minute Packers, it was an extremely long day. But day one was a success, I feel, in terms that we figured things out.
There's more to day one, though.
How much more of day one do you want to talk about?
Well, just real quick, though, there's festivities that we attended. Busted Open, right? Was right after? Or no, we went to see more Sea of Honor tournament matches.
Yeah.
And then Busted Open. Sammy Callahan killed it. Then we actually got to meet him, meet with him, and take a picture with Sammy. That was cool. He's a cool dude. He's killing in a good way the business.
He keeps it real, basically. Yeah.
He's a talk. I think the thing we both
Well, he's not
like,
the talk, he's the draw.
the draw. I think
Get it right. Otherwise, Sammy Callahan will be really pissed at you.
I think one of the good things that he said was that he pays it forward. He's not somebody that has a big head or, his ego. He pays it forward.
Let's be honest. Sammy Callahan says a lot of things that get people riled up. Is why Dave LaGreca and a lot of people say he's the most hated man in professional wrestling. I don't really see that. I see he kind of just tells the truth, and the truth can be always determined in two phases: your own interpretation, what other people interpret the truth to be. But ultimately, a guy like Sammy Callahan really just cares about his own belief and his own truth. That's all that matters to him, and he sticks to his guns. And despite what you might feel about him personally or professionally, you have to respect that, because very few people stand their ground nowadays because they're either worried about getting fired, they're worried about how the public eye is going to view them. Sammy always stays true to who he is, which is why I always admire something like that. And when you really look at it, though, as much as people might think, oh, he's so this huge ego of his now, he thinks he's this big shit. No, he believes he is what he is, and you know what? More power to him. But at the same time, he doesn't have an ego. He cares about other people. He cares about what he's always said, Jeff, especially when he spoke to Dave LaGreca on Busted Open. We're very fortunate to see it. He cares about the future and the growth of this business, which you and I and everybody listening to the High Spot podcast love so much. And with that being said, you're right. He pays it forward. He's not about the fact that, he brags that he's making a lot of money, but he doesn't look at it as if he's anything special in the terms that he's not above that other guy who's trying to make a name for himself. And Samuel will do everything he possibly can to help that individual out, because you're right, it's all about paying it forward.
Yeah, and then, like I said, that's a future episode. Sammy Callahan on Busted Open with Dave LaGreca. Busted Open was here. Good to see Dave here as well. So then after that, we just walked around, right?
We walked around. We
ate
again. We had a couple more drinks. And then I think, honestly, Jeff, officially, can I say we called it a night?
Yeah, man. And then these cabins are so dark. They're so freaking dark. I put the alarm for 7 a.m. And, man...
my alarm didn't go off for some weird reason.
And, because you tell Alexa to do it. If you manually, I think, put it...
No, I manually put it in, because when I tried Alexa to do it, because I had no internet access, she's like, having problems connecting.
No, guys, by the way, your internet, man, a lot of people are having problems here with it. So if you are a social media person that you live with your phone in your hand, then, you have to find a way to either get the very expensive Wi-Fi that they have here, or not bear it for 4 days. I know the NFL happened and kind of weird without checking my fantasy teams, but those also you guys have to, be aware of when you're planning a trip on a cruise like this.
That is something that surprised me a lot, that you were so interested in seeing what the scores were. And, it's funny because when we're, back in the metropolitan area, it's something you could check. New York, New Jersey. Yeah. It's the metropolitan area, Jeff. So a rose by any other name is a rose, Jeff. All right.
Sounds so prophetic. I'm just saying, it's just said in New York, New Jersey. You're like,
well, that's the way you say it.
Metropolitan area.
Yeah, and I can say it the way I want to say it too. You know what? Because it's my opinion. It's my words that are coming out of my mouth. All right. When you talk, whatever words come out of your mouth are what you say. So, and here's again, Jeff, he's a little intoxicated, so he thinks he knows everything now. But, and he's sipping ginger ale, so I have no idea why he's intoxicated. But, if you're, I didn't realize, not going to be long-winded here.
I flustered you there,
no, I'm not going to keep talking, because then you're going to be like, oh, you're long-winded. No, I was surprised that you were so invested into what's going on in football, when every Sunday comes back, the last thing you want to do is talk about sports, because we're always around it.
Yeah, well, it's just weird. The NFL is a certain
You're
case.
Weird, too.
But I think the Red Sox won the World Series, too, and I
yes,
didn't know about it. Which is crazy. So congratulations to any Boston fan and all Yankee fans. Sorry about that. I guess wait till next year.
Yeah, and Jeff says that with a smug look on his face. He's a Met fan. He's got his own problems to worry about.
Did we hire the GM yet? Anyways.
Yeah,
so,
it's Omar Minaya.
So we wake up like 8:45, and then this is where the vacation almost was ruined, because just the transfer needs to go to the gym. I just felt it was a little too late to go to the gym, and then we get the meet and greet, which is this week, today on a Sunday, and
you found about the meet and greets late.
Yeah.
Jeff's original plan was to go to the pool. I was going to work out for about 35 to 40 minutes. No problem. Jeff found out that there were meet and greets going on. We're unaware of it because we didn't really have a schedule. We're just going off by what we're looking at.
1 hour for meet and greet with Kenny Omega is ridiculous. You need to have that, like, you need to put them in separate rooms or something like that, because if you put all the talent together, and that's what happened. They put, like, they put Marty and Kenny together. I believe Hangman was also on there. And, dude, nothing against the other talent, but where's everybody want to go? You need to put them in separate rooms, because if not, then you're going to have a shit show, and that's what happened this morning, because they ran into numbers. Supposedly you had to wake up early to get the numbers and stuff like that, but
Which made no sense. You know why?
Yeah.
Because when they say it's open to the public, they don't say open to the public if you get a number. No, it's open to the public. It's free flowing. You can just go in and go out as you please.
They had yeah, exactly. I thought they had it coordinated enough where, like, it's like a big room where people just come in and go and file in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fine, I understand if it's just quick signature and that's it, but at least everyone should at least have gotten a shot at that, man. If you're there, I don't care if it's 11 on the dot. You know, those people should be able to see their meet and greets. You know, I'm fine because I've met Kenny before. You know.
Yeah, but you would always want the opportunity to do it again, and it just screwed everything up. And then
so we have no phones connected, and then so we had a meeting with Chris Jericho, and you know, that kind of fell to the wayside because we didn't know where to meet up. You know, whatever, shit happens. But the chance I got to meet Chris Jericho, I didn't. But it got made up later on in the night, where, you know, a concert for the ages, you know, trendsetter. A lot of people, you know, I'm not into rock and roll. You got me into it a little bit. And then some people are going to say, oh, when I saw the Rolling Stones or when I saw U2 or Aerosmith for the first time, I became a fan. I'll be honest with you. Now I can say, seriously, let the ass kissing begin. The first time I saw Chris Jericho live, I became a fan of rock and roll. Chris Jericho is awesome. You must see Fozzy live and in person. It was great. Yesterday we were unfortunately upstairs, but this time we were like right there, 2 rows, and Chris Jericho right in our faces. It was awesome. Oh man, the songs were amazing. Chris Jericho's a showman. You could tell he loves what he does, and it's infectious. And here's the funny thing: Chris Jericho spit a little bit, and it actually landed on some dude. And I to myself, I was like, please let some of that spit land on me. So whatever his whatever his mojo is, I want some of that, because, man,
was that what hit me? Did he spit or he threw the water?
No, that was water. But
okay.
Right to the very end, like, he just went a little bit, and it went only one direction. But I was like, good God, any part of Jericho's DNA, man, give it to me, because the man busts his ass, and look where he is today. He's got a freaking cruise, and 2 days of just awesome stuff. The fans are nuts. I had freaking, you know, the little, it almost turned into a mosh pit down there. It was crazy.
Yeah, I realized that. Yeah, I got shoved just like you did.
Yeah, and then drinks galore. And then he played Judas at the end, which was awesome. He had his family up there. He had his wife, Jessica, up there too. So everyone was up there. And he had Phil Taylor. He had Corey Taylor.
Well, he had a whole bunch of special guests from various bands, from Slipknot to Motorhead. And like I said, you know, it was more of just first time ever experiences for people that were on the boat. They're on the boat with him sharing that experience. So to put that in a nutshell for me, because Jeff kind of expressed a lot of the same feelings I had, I've always been a fan of Fozzy since they first came out, even when they're doing just cover songs. And weren't taking it seriously as a band. And Jeff wasn't really a fan. You know, it wasn't his digs. He didn't really enjoy it too much. But then later on, when they start collaborating and creating their own music and their own songs, like one of Jeff's favorite songs is actually "Enemies," the first song he liked from Fozzy. And then little by little, as their records and albums came out, he started liking other songs from their collection. So he played a lot of oldies, a lot of covers, then played some current stuff too. And
SOS, he does a great job.
Yeah,
ABBA's
SOS
SOS.
from ABBA, from the album Do You Want to Start a
Fucking
War?
amazing.
Great. For me, it was kind of full circle because I've always been a fan of Chris Jericho. I've always been a fan of Fozzy, but I never had an opportunity to ever go see them live. Whether our schedules conflicted, whether Jeff and I couldn't go, whether, pick an excuse. Finally, no excuse. We're there to see him perform the first day, and then the second day to be literally only like a few feet away from him and to see the show from that perspective was wow. Now I can finally say and check that off my list that I actually saw Fozzy perform, and I definitely know without a shadow of a doubt that it will not be the last time I'll see them perform when I get the opportunity, or when Jeff gets the opportunity as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan now. I'm a fan for life of Fozzy. I'm gonna support him, and also too, man. You can tell Jericho loves what he's doing. I mean, he's mixing everything together. And then the funny thing is, like, you could see everybody, like, you could see because his friends are there. He wants to give it a little extra. He wants to show him, man, this is what it is. And
He wants to show him a good time.
I really want to ask, like, when I get the chance to talk to some of the wrestlers, hopefully later on, I'll ask him, like, what do you think when you saw Chris Jericho? We asked Santana of LAX, and he's like, man, good showman and stuff like that, and he's great. But looking forward to just hearing what people are thoughts after all this of what Chris Jericho as the rock star. But he's got that rock star personality anyways, and to be a front man, you got to really have that, that outgoing person.
I think he's always had that though. I think really quick, just a second, Jeff. Going back to when his DVD came out for WWE, even Big Show said himself, like, he walks around, he acts like a rock star, so he gets treated like a rock star.
Yeah.
He believes that much in himself, and he is very passionate. As much as I like to think wrestling is his first love, there's no doubt in my mind music is his first love. It'll always be his first passion, and you can have two passions in life. There's nothing wrong with it, but when you see him on stage performing, getting lost in the moment, getting lost in the music, sometimes you remind me of like Freddie Mercury out there, like just moving around and flowing with the music sound of letting it kind of encompass his body. You definitely tell this is something that's going to be, Chris Jericho's love and what he's going to be doing for a very, very long time, especially the days when he no longer will be wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. And then, like, next week he's going to Japan because he's going to take on Evil. So that's, remember, he is the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. So he...
Say that 3 times fast.
No, I'm not going to, especially now. But that's crazy, man. Like, he's going to come off of this. He doesn't have time to, like, soak it in, man, because he's got to take on Evil.
I think he is. What you're talking about in terms of reflecting.
Very emotional, too, by the way.
He was. He was embracing the moment for what it's worth. Now, you're right. I don't think he has time in his schedule, Jeff, to kind of go back and reminisce and spend 20, 30 or a day just thinking back how cool Cruz was. I don't think he's built that way. And I think you and I have learned ourselves to kind of, now Jeff and I aren't built that way. We kind of sometimes dwell on a lot of things, whether they're good or bad, which I don't enjoy very much, but it's just kind of our human nature. But I think we're slowly starting to embrace the moment, like embrace the Jericho Cruise. And then when it's happened, great. And then move on to the next thing we got to do.
I ask you a question. Because we're going to wrap up. We're going to give you a preview of what the next couple of days are going to be. Just real quick, the next couple of days, we're going to be in Nassau, where the ship ports. Talk about, like, going the long ways to the Bahamas, right, to Nassau. But it's going to port. We're going to be in Nassau. Then after that, we've got more Sea of Honor tournament and Alpha Club versus the Bullet Club.
So we all been looking forward to.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. And then, of course, the next day will be the Impact versus Ring of Honor, and probably going to have Sami Callihan versus Marty Scurll the next few days. So that's coming up soon. But I want to ask you a question, just real quick on the Fozzy stuff.
Yeah.
Our producer for All In asked me a question, and I want to ask you this, Trendsetter. If you could have gone on stage today with Fozzy and Chris Jericho, and you could have sang one song with him, out of all the songs that he's sang that you like, all the records, which song would it have been?
Dark Passenger. A lot of people don't know that song.
Really? That's the one?
It's very. I've always liked that song. I mean, it's not a high pitched party song, but it's more of like a ballad type of thing.
Dark Passenger, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he doesn't mind. But yeah, I mean that's the one I would want to sing with him, just because it's a lot of emotion behind it and something that just really called to me. It's one of my favorite songs of his album, Do You Want to Start a War? But yeah, Judas, Painless, Enemy, which is always another one of my favorite ones of his other albums. So yeah, one of those. But for some reason, Dark Passenger, just I could see me and him doing like a duet together, and me and him just on stage and just kind of embracing the feelings behind the lyrics. So that's the one I'd want to do with Chris.
Okay, I forgot I would want to do Enemy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but then SOS, I was like, damn, that I wouldn't mind doing SOS, right?
Yeah, no, I could do that one too. But yeah, that's another good song.
Judas is a must, right? But what's the song that just can't burn it down? Is it Burn Me Out, right?
Yeah, Burn Me Out. Yeah.
Burn Me Out.
It's his latest one.
That song.
I mean, if you want a party song, yeah, that's the one where you can jump up, act crazy, let the music just encompass you, and just kind of let go of any inhibitions you may have. That's probably the song. Everybody jumping, it's got a great beat to it, and the lyrics are really good too. I mean, I think something gets lost sometimes, and it's from my perspective, guys, that if you listen to your fan of Fozzy or you kind of know of them, they have great beats. Their songs have great beats. But when you really listen to the lyrics, I think the lyric selection, how it's changed and how it's evolved for Fozzy, especially Chris Jericho as a frontman singing those songs, being lead vocals, man, he has found his voice. He's found his niche of how he wants to portray the songs and how he wants to sing them. So I think there's a lot of meaning behind those lyrics nowadays.
Oh yeah! Yeah! Oh man. So first 2 days was great. Again, this episode is going to be like a diary of the High Spot podcast at the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rage Red Sea. Maybe we will kind of towards the end, when we do this part 2, we might just real quick mention Crown Jewel because we're probably not going to preview it for you guys. This is our diary here, but and then of course Evolution that happened. But man. That pales into comparison of what we're experiencing right now. Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rage Red Sea. So far, 2 days gone by. Amazing time so far. The accessibility of the wrestlers has been amazing. Everything's been good. The food's been good. Drinks have been awesome. Chris Jericho's doing an amazing thing here, and I don't think it's going to be the last time. But part 2, we're going to talk about, like I said, what I just mentioned before, the docking in Nassau, and of course Alpha Club and Bullet Club. And also too, Jensen, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to let you ponder this right now. You don't have to answer this now. But when we do part 2, do you think WWE could pull off something like this if they wanted to? And what would be the positive and negatives about it too? So let that.
I already know the answer to that, but I'll save it.
We'll tease it, and we'll talk about that. So, but right now it's getting really late, and we have to dock. So part 2 in this whole episode is coming up soon, and you guys will experience our adventures on these 4 amazing days here on the Jericho Cruise. And we'll see you soon, because again, this is not goodbye. It's just see you later, because these 2 parts will be put into one for your listening pleasure in the very next episode. So good night. Oh wait, how does Kenny Omega do it?
Goodbye.
Mwah!
And good night. Bang!
All right, Trendsetter. So those were the first 2 days. Amazing. And once again, I beyond our expectations, exceeded it. And, coming up is days 3 and 4. But just going back and listening to that audio, that uncut audio of us just having a good time after the second night. Let's talk about those first 2 days.
Well, it's amazing what exhaustion does to you. You say some pretty weird things right now, but I don't regret anything I said, though. But, it was amazing, man, for the fact that it seemed like when you guys look at the pamphlet of the things and the activities you had to do, or you could do and attend that day, it really was the equivalent. It was made to be that way. You couldn't really attend everything, so you had to kind of pick and choose what you wanted to do. It's amazing Jeff and I were able to go to as many events that we wanted to do, not only for the Seat of Honor tournament, for the comedy shows, the podcasts that were going out there. Just a great experience altogether. That first couple of nights were it was more of getting adjusted to the knowing that we didn't have any access to the internet. We had no access to the outside world. So it was really getting used to that. Jeff and I actually had to start striking up conversations, which was pretty awkward, but actually started getting the hang of it. Really? And after a couple of ginger ales, Jeff was topsy-turvy. He was ready to go. He was so loose and laid back. Just pop a couple of ginger ales in this guy, and my goodness, he can talk all day, and you can't shut him up. So it's pretty cool. But the buffet was awesome, like always. And ultimately,
the buffet was
the music was something that I didn't think I'd appreciate a lot of, but I did actually. I'm I'm not a huge rock and roll fan. I was a little bit early on in my youth back then, but to see Fozzy and the performances he chose, if we're putting wrestling aside, not just the songs he chose in his set, but the bands and the entertainment he decided to choose, the performers on stage throughout the portion of the day. Some pretty good music out there. It really was.
Yeah, really good music. Some great Jericho stories, too. But whatever happened on the cruise stays on the cruise. So
until you land and you have social media access again.
Yeah, there you go. Then you can blur everything out. But yeah, so days 1 and 2 were there. Days 3 and 4, we're talking about the excursion. Talking about Alpha Club versus Bullet Club. Finding out who is the new number 1 contender for the Ring of Honor Championship. Who will take on Jay Lethal at a future date. As well as the Bullet Club, for the last time maybe, as the Bullet Club against Impact Wrestling. So let's go day 3 and 4 on the High Spot Podcast at Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager. All right, Trendsetter, days 1 and 2 are in the books, and now we are on the excursion. Had a great time on the beach, man. Great selection I think we made by going.
Great time on the what?
On the beach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What, did I say something wrong?
No, I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. So, great decision, I think. I think nice little privacy, getting some suntan, and now look at me. I am burnt to a crisp, but I think it's going to even out by the time I get back on
You're
shore.
like a rotisserie chicken right now.
You think so?
Yeah.
You're gonna
Burnt on
spray
both
me.
sides.
You're gonna spray me with a little oregano and garlic and.
That's a turkey.
Well,
It's a little bit different there. Yeah, it takes a lot longer to cook. But no, you're right, man. It was a great decision. I think pricing had something to do with it. I wanted to do the water parks, but when we saw the pricing for it, we're like, yeah, that's probably not the best decision. But again, it was more about, we could have had fun at the water parks in Atlantis, the resort where the water parks were located. But I think really, ultimately, the decision was kind of conducted by Jeff and I, saying, we just kind of want to get away. And the reason why we went on the cruise is all the great events and all the activities that were on the cruise on the boat. But when you finally get to Nassau, you're like, I just kind of want to get away. And the private beach resort was really, I think, a good decision, retrospectively thinking right now, because it just allows us to have the peaceful, quiet moments where really there's nothing. There's music looping in the background, which is very relaxing.
Yes.
Sun was out, the water was pleasant, and you couldn't just ask for anything better in terms of just kind of taking some time off to get reflection and ultimately just to decompress all the stresses that, we all deal with on the course of the day, the course of weeks that go by. I told Jeff before when we were actually at the resort that I had mentally checked out 3 weeks before we actually went on the cruise. So it was a nice recharge of batteries and just great peacefulness that unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because we're always busy, we don't often get. So we took advantage of it. The Jersey Rain crew got a chance to get some R&R, and I think it was much needed.
Yeah, and I think that you were able to get some rays there, sitting down, relaxing. I was in the water like the whole time.
The whole time.
So yeah, so I was just wide open for the sun to just take its toll on me, and I think it did. But that was awesome, man. And again, you could have done so many things there. You could have swam with the dolphins, the stingrays, which I don't know who would sign up for that. I would be scared as all hell to do that. But yeah, there are people there. Swimming with the stingrays, believe it or not. And the dolphins, you can see the dolphins from where we were. So that was great to see. But R&R for the Jersey Wrecking Crew as we head back. Going to be a crazy end of the year for us. So definitely whenever you get a chance to and you just absorb the beauty of being in Nassau, in the Bahamas, it's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And if it happens again next year, if there's another Rock and Wrestling Rager, definitely, look into that. But it was good to be part of history, and what was very historic was coming back on the boat, got to the buffet again for the 50th time. And
really thinking about it, though, we normally eat 3 meals a day anyway.
Yeah.
So, we're really going overboard, but just seemed more than not. Jeff would always tell me, I'm so thirsty, man. Let's pop another ginger ale.
Thirsty.
Exactly.
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale.
But by the time the thing was over, the guy knew me, knew everything about me, knew my personal life, the bartender over there, or the soda tender, whatever you want to say. But it was crazy.
It was so funny.
Felt weird walking up to him every single time. More ginger ale, please.
Exactly. It wasn't really efficient, guys, because every single time you wanted another drink, they would have to pop open another can and use another plastic cup, and that was just wasteful in my mind. But it was so funny because we got the package to get endless, unlimited supplies of soda. I remember Jeff telling me, I'm gonna splurge the crap out of this. I'm gonna use it all the way up, and he did, and we both did. Yeah, it was really cool the fact that, yeah, we were just very thirsty.
Every time I looked, either the trendsetter got me a ginger ale or I had gotten the ginger ale for the trendsetter.
Yeah, after I said no, but I still drank it anyway because I wanted to be polite. But yeah, I mean, having those integral breaks and then obviously something that's building up, the main event we've been looking forward to. And it wasn't really necessarily the 10-man tag team match when you had Ring of Honor, which is Impact, which we'll dive into. It was more of Alpha Club versus Bullet Club.
And it was. And, of course, that was I guess one of the reasons, the big selling point of the cruise was to have Alpha Club versus Bullet Club. And as soon as it started, the anticipation, it was the main event of that night. So you saw some great matches as well. I'm telling you, that match
with all due respect, is the main event of the boat. That's what everybody's looking forward to.
Yeah, but the Mark and Jay, that's what I said. And the Mark and Jay Briscoe, the Mark and Jay Briscoe match was also amazing, too. So later on today, what we're going to do is, once this comes out, this episode, which comes out on Friday, at the same time as Crown Jewel, believe it or not, is we're going to give you our rankings of the top 5 matches. The Trendsetter and I are going to put our heads together and see what were the top 5 matches on this boat. And, of course, you can see it this Saturday, this weekend, November 3rd. The streaming for Vengeance on the Fight app. You guys get to watch all this amazing matches from Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, and of course the Bullet Club versus Alpha Club. So you don't want to miss that. If you weren't on the cruise, you get to see the matches this weekend.
If you weren't on the cruise, what's your problem?
Yeah, what was wrong? Yeah, but yeah, and the second we heard SoCal Val start hyping up this matchup, we were ready. We were there kind of towards the front row, so look out for us. If you don't know who we are, we're the two crazy fans. Brian was wearing the High Spot Podcast shirt. I'm wearing a white Bullet Club shirt. And
nice advertising job there, Jeff. Seriously.
And it was totally awesome. So they come out, and then you see Kenny, which is awesome. I got to touch Kenny's hand. It was amazing. I haven't watched Hand yet.
Yeah, I can tell.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, Kenny Omega. You hear the music, you hear everything, and you see Cody and Marty, and then we're waiting for the Young Bucks. They come out, and then Judas comes out for Jericho, and it's taking a while. The anticipation, he's milking that moment. He comes out dressed exactly like the Young Bucks. They did a whole theme, Alpha Club. It was truly amazing. And the match in itself is, I don't know how to, as far as rate this, because it was at sea. No one, only a few people could see it. But I think once everyone sees it this weekend, I think people will say this is maybe one of the top 5 matches of 2018.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fair to say that, but ultimately, from a fan, I could care less how people rate this match, to be perfectly honest with you, because it really was a match to rate. This isn't like a Dave Meltzer, not taking a shot at Dave Meltzer, but we're not rating this as a 5-star, 7-star, 6-star, 2-star match. It was more just entertainment based. This is what everybody looked at. This is what everybody was anticipating. Jeff talked about Kenny coming out, Cody, Marty, each one individually coming out, and then obviously Jericho surprising everybody dressing up like the Young Bucks in their new Alpha Club gear. But it honestly even wasn't about the intros. It was just about the anticipation of seeing something very historic of all this talent, the people I just mentioned, including Jericho, to see them all at the ring at the same time. I think that's what a majority of people are saying, and that's what I have to agree with sometimes. It's just to see all them to collectively together in the ring at the same time, which is something no one would ever think would happen. It was more of a special feeling itself. So I never looked at it, Jeff, personally from the perspective of, wow, this is amazing. I thought it was very entertaining. I thought it hit moments in terms of, quote unquote, psychology in the ring, the anticipation of Kenny and Chris touching one another and then moving that and delaying that later on in the match. Ultimately, just an enjoyment for the first time I can remember, sitting back as a fan and really just enjoying a match for what it's worth. And what a match it was. It lived up to the hype. Whether you want to debate your question, athleticism, were there missed or botched spots? Even if there were, I'm sure people didn't care about it. And I don't think there were. That's how cool and that's how good all of them work together. But ultimately, just an enjoyment for the fans, enjoyment for me, something I'll never forget. We'll be able to see on the Fight app now. You can always go back and refer back to it. But man, what a moment. It's one thing to watch on the Fight app, guys. I know some of you probably couldn't make the cruise, but to be there live in person, Jeff, that's a moment I will never forget.
Exactly. Unforgettable moments on this cruise, too. And like you said, yeah, it really didn't matter. This match lived up to the hype. You get all 6 guys there that genuinely like each other, that you get to see Kenny Omega, which is like, few and far between that you see Kenny Omega. To see him up that close and solidify why he is the best battle machine was amazing too. And, all I got to say is, man, very lucky and fortunate that I was able to see it in person. And of course, you can see the pictures and videos, about on the cruise, about the match. And again, it is up to you guys to your judgment whether you believe this is a top 5 or top 10 match of 2018. But in our eyes, to me, I believe that it is. This matchup was so hyped. And the only way you could have seen it, I think that's what's the best thing is, you couldn't drive to the arena. You couldn't like fly to the arena, to the state where there's going to be. No, it was on a cruise. You had to be there. It's exclusive to the cruise. And I think that's what also makes it special too. It's a once in a lifetime thing that was captured that night, and I think that everyone that saw it knows how lucky they were. They appreciated it, and the best part was as soon as they were meeting face to face, and the crowd knew it. The crowd knew that this moment was huge, and they said, "Vince can't touch this. Vince can't touch this," and you felt that energy, and you could feel the Young Bucks and Jericho looking around, and Kenny Omega, and Cody nodding in acknowledgement that you're right. Vince can't touch this, and he probably won't be able to this coming year either. So as much as they want to try to sign him, as much money as they're going to shell out, if this team, if they are being truthful and they're going to stick together, then Vince McMahon, Triple H, they're not going to touch this for a long time. And Jericho, I know you saw this too, but when they were chanting Vince can't touch this, he looked down to the crowd and he's like, I agree.
But Jeff, ultimately we'll take from this main event, more importantly, is we talk about the athleticism, the anticipation, the great match that it was. To me, what was more appreciative and what meant more to me was what happened after the match. It was all over. We saw who won. Bullet Club won. We're victorious over Alpha Club. But ultimately, towards the end, all of them meeting in the center of the ring, hugging each other, showing their appreciation, not only to themselves and respect, but also to the crowd that was watching them and showing admiration. For me, what really meant a lot is Chris Jericho going on the microphone, taking it from Kenny, which is really funny, and basically just, showing again his appreciation to everybody that made this cruise possible. People were chanting, "Thank you, Chris." He turned right back around and said, "Thank you, guys, because without you, this wouldn't be possible," which is true. It goes 50-50 in hand. And ultimately, pointing to Kenny and telling him basically that although Jericho's known as the greatest of all time, the GOAT, he says that Kenny Omega is the greatest professional wrestler in the world today. And Kenny's reaction to Chris Jericho saying something like that to him, and then Jericho ending it with and that pisses me the hell off. It was so perfect that you couldn't ask for anything more. And all of them just collectively, loving to perform in front of each other and having that freedom. You could tell they had that creative freedom where they weren't restricted to a time limit. I'm sure they were to an extent, or they weren't restricted to what they can and couldn't do. Everybody was open to do what they wanted to do and got other stuff in, which is great. You don't see that often.
No, all creative juices were flowing, man. The matchup was really well done. And, of course, towards the end, too, just opening the door, leaving the door open for a possible Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho just a singles match was awesome, too. And just, Marty stole the show with his antics, and it was just very, very funny stuff. And that was the Alpha Club versus Bullet Club. Then after that, there were so many other things to do, so... But honestly, though, after that, everyone was just worn out, so I went back to the bar and drinks, and it was just,
more ginger ales.
More ginger ales. And then, then after that, I think that the...
We were sunburned, man. My back was burning. It wasn't terrible, but my back was it felt very, sensitive.
And something about standing on... Whether it's the boardwalk, those planks, or whether it's the deck, the floorboard,
oh my God,
it just does something to
my knees were banging for mercy.
So I will warn you guys that if you're going to do a lot of standing, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old, but I'm pretty sure someone younger who's got more comfortable shoes than I did will not feel it. But I just want to warn you guys, wear comfortable shoes, because you're going to be standing a lot. That's one thing. It's a standing room only, so you're going to have to find a great spot, unless you're on the top of the boat, on the top deck, and you can get some chairs from the bar and stuff, but you're going to be standing most of the time, so just giving you fair warning about that you need to have comfortable shoes or just have younger legs and knees. That's all I got to say.
I could barely walk.
Yeah.
After those 3 days, my knees were killing me. My feet were killing me. It was terrible. And just by sitting down, I could barely get back up. That was how bad it was. But all worth it, though, because you deal with a little bit of pain for what we experienced.
And then, of course, the next day, you had the Talk is Jericho with Bullet Club.
Ooh.
And a lot of stuff was revealed. But again, it's something that you already knew, that these guys are the best of friends. They you hardly find that in the business. And that's what he got out of it. And also, too, that they will be going forward, known as the Elite. It looks like the Bullet Club goes back to the OGs as far as Tamatanga and Jay White and Gato. They will be taking that moniker, and it'll be Bullet Club with New Japan. If that's how they decide to go forward to. It looks like they have. Looks like they've broken away from that, and they're the Elite. It makes sense money-wise. It makes sense as far as the evolution of their characters. So they are now the Elite. So all the Bullet Club shirts that are associated with the Young Bucks, with Cody, with Kenny, with Hangman, and with Marty will be no more effective immediately. So those were the last shirts. So the last Young Buck shirt that you see, that's it. No more affiliation with
the Bullet Club.
The Bullet Club, and honestly, this makes them more money. It makes sense. Pro Wrestling Tees is going to have a field day with this now, making the Elite shirts now for these guys moving forward. So it makes sense money wise for them. So. Just your thoughts on that real quick. Did you think it was just a matter of time before this was going to happen?
Yeah. Ultimately, the way they've always presented themselves, you looked at them as the Bullet Club, but in all honesty, they're an entity among themselves. As much as they carry the flag or the moniker of the Bullet Club while calling themselves separately the Elite. To me, it was just a matter of time, and it really wasn't that big of a shock. I mean, looking at it retrospectively, it's like, oh wow, I can't believe it now. The Bullet Club now has to kind of not start from scratch, but basically recreate their identity and what they want to be going in the future. But you could definitely tell the two sides, of what the Elite and the Bullet Club were going different directions. So it definitely made sense from a storyline or standpoint, but also made sense from, like you said, a financial standpoint. And what's this business all about? It's about having the best matches. Of course, it was about making financial stability for yourself, and the Young Bucks have been amazing at doing that. And so now everybody collectively together now will benefit from this too, knowing that moving on with the Elite, it's going to create more revenue for them. But again, a surprise, but not surprised to begin with, if you want my opinion on it. And pretty excited because now this new venture of where they're going, knowing that they're sticking together, how long would that be? We have no idea. Only time will tell on that one. But it's really nice to see collectively all of them saying, you know what, we're now going to move on ourselves. And basically the theme of everything we've ever done, Jeff, on the Show High Spot podcast, what we've done with guests we've had on the show, it's about literally betting on yourself and going after it. Yeah, exactly. Do it yourself.
And so after that, we had got to meet Kenny Omega, which was awesome. A highlight. Oh my god, Kenny! Did that, and then I think you saw the words of Jericho. He was telling some stories too.
Yeah, I was doing that.
I got some R&R as far as hitting that pool one last time.
Got the pool, got the steam room,
getting that buffet out of my body with all the sweating and stuff. So and then of course after that hit the buffet again.
There's a theme here. I think there's a pattern going on. Every break we have in between events, we just hit the buffet real quick.
So then of course the Ring of Honor with Flip Gordon, now the number one contender. And then, of course, the big 10-man tag between Bullet Club and Impact Wrestling, which it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. It's what they're doing. They're changing the game as far as wrestling. You're not supposed to take it that seriously. I know there's a lot of traditionalists that would be like, my God, this is what's wrong with the business, But at the end of the day, you want to be entertained, and that's what the Bullet Club did. Kenny came out, as Toadstool, and everyone came out in their Mushroom Kingdom outfits and stuff. It was great, and just to see that was awesome. Very, very funny match. Well done. Sam McCallahan got the brunt about it. He took on 8 or 9 super kicks.
Man, Sam McCallahan can't get along with anybody, man.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. And then of course, too, also the slaughter on the water between Marty and Sammy. That was also awesome too to see. Mm-hmm. They went poolside. I mean, you'll see these matches too, but just everything was well done. These guys are amazing, and it just shows you that at the end of the day, these companies are working together. And as we find out eventually, when this comes out, you'll find out that there's an eventual matchup between Jay Lethal and Johnny Impact in the works. It's going to be champion versus champion, so that's going to be amazing too. Things are changing, Trendsetter. Things are changing. 2018 was history making. We're going to wrap it up because we've got now but when the show airs, there's going to be 2 months left in the year. You have November and December, and these are the holiday seasons. You got Thanksgiving and Christmas, so they're going to go by real fast. Yeah. There's just going to be hustle and bustle. It's going to be everyone moving around, and by the time you know, we're going to get into 2019, and we're going to be like, wow, this has been the year of history-making stuff and change. This business is changing. In 2019, most likely you're going to get Jay Lethal and Johnny Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor setting aside their differences and working together. That's going to be amazing, man. This wrestling, as we head into 2019, is going to be a great, and it's going to be history-making again. It's going to make more history, and that's what we want to see. It is the best time to be a wrestling fan right now, like we've said tons and tons of times.
Definitely is, and also to be a talent in this business as well. We talked about how 2018 was a huge boom. 2019 seems to be gaining the same type of momentum, even stronger. I think ultimately, Jeff, if I were to put a stamp on all this stuff collectively that you're talking about, Ring of Honor, Impact working together, it's basically understanding that within these companies, whether they're big promotions like Ring of Honor, Impact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Lucha Underground, just name a few. MLW is getting up there as well. I think companies are starting to realize, or promoters are starting to realize, I don't think it's necessarily the mindset of competing with WWE, but saying, how can we all financially benefit from this huge boom of professional wrestling? Let's all work together now, because when we all collectively work together, we're all going to make more money. We're all going to get more notoriety, as opposed to we're trying to individually separate ourselves from everybody else and be our own entity. So by collectively working together, you're improving the industry. You're improving opportunity for guys to have chances in first-time matches you never thought you'd see. That being said, what stamped it all for me was All In. All In was the given proof that if we all collectively work together, we can sell at 10,000 seat arenas. We can now progress maybe to 15,000, 20,000. The future is unprecedented now of something like this ever happening. So yeah, I collectively think that within the holiday span and things going on, the future of what might happen with a Ring of Honor champion versus an Impact champion, I mean, that's something that you don't ever see nowadays or ever. So again, like another first time, with egos being put aside to the collective success of the business itself and the collective success of the promotions altogether. This is a first time thing for me, you as well. And I just think 2019 is just going to be even more monumental. And believe it or not, we might get some more first-time evers again in our life, too. Maybe we're going to see one in Madison Square Garden. We never thought we'd see an event held outside of WWE in Madison Square Garden. So, again, it's just picking up on the momentum of 2018 and 2019. Ooh, that future is really, really bright.
Yeah, man. And then, of course, we had an entertaining matchup, then of another concert by Fozzy, and then, of course, the karaoke with Marty Scurll. And then before we knew it, it was bedtime, time to wake up early, get that last breakfast at the buffet, and then head...
it's really difficult to get the last breakfast in. I was pretty stuffed for the 4 days.
And then head back to, Miami, be on land, actually have service on my phone, and then go back home to New Jersey and put this show together. And man, I'm telling you, it was a great moment. I'm sure there's a lot of great feedback about this Jericho cruise, and I really think at the end of the day, Chris Jericho met his expectations, maybe went a little bit above and beyond. I'm sure the theme was best vacation ever, and I gotta agree, man, this is one of the best vacations I've ever had. Really, definitely, when I look back on it, I'm gonna have Jericho Cruise hangover when we get home. It's funny, the 4 days of this, the 4 days of All In, I think all your troubles, all your worries, you put to the side and you just focus on wrestling, something that you love, and you're surrounded by it. You're surrounded by the excitement. You're surrounded by fans. You're surrounded by awesome things. And then when you get back to reality, it kind of hits you. It punches you right in the face sometimes. But it's always good to reflect. We're gonna have great memories here in 2018. So much was done too. So it was an amazing cruise. Well done. And now we head back to the norm. Now we had a few weeks off here on the High Spot Podcast. So much going on. But we're gonna get back in the groove of things. We're gonna get back to regular episodes now, hopefully heading into 2019. So you'll have a show every week here on the High Spot Podcast. Trendsetter doing amazing things on the YouTube channel, High Spot Podcast, with the Adventure with the Trendsetter. Looking forward to what he's going to do. But at the end of the day, Chris Jericho, on behalf of the Trendsetter and myself, we want to say thank you so much for a very well-run vacation. I've never been on a cruise before. We've never been on a cruise before, and it exceeded our expectations. So I think if that's what you really wanted to do, you've done a great job. You've done something for the fans, and wrestling is just the best it's ever been. And you know what? You've done it on sea. Maybe one day you'll decide to do it on air, and we'll do a wrestling match on a hot air balloon. You never know. But as far as I'm concerned, Trentser had a blast. And just your closing thoughts here as we wrap up this diary show of the High Spot Podcast.
It's kind of hard to finish it up right now. You've basically said everything that there is to be said. Ultimately, just a huge thank you to Chris Jericho. A huge thank you to everyone involved that were part of festivities, even the fans that were part of the event as well. It's just so cool to be around so many like-minded people that share the same types of passions and dedication that they have for not only the business, but for music and just entertainment, and together all wrapped into one. And just a great vacation. It's something that Jeff and I rarely ever get a chance to. We wanted to kind of make this, or had the mentality of going in, this is going to be business, and then we're going to try to enjoy ourselves a little bit. That quickly went away, because when you saw the things there were to do in terms of enjoyment, I went in my own head saying, I'm probably never going to have an opportunity to do this ever again. Why not enjoy it for what it's worth and not treat it like a business trip? And so I finally converted and changed and actually enjoyed myself for the first time ever in a really long time. Much needed. I don't have an ego about me, but I will say that I've worked really hard. I know you have worked really hard to get that. So ultimately, great vacation, great time away. It's sad that it's over, but at the same time, it's also exciting too, because you have so many memories and have something to look forward to, because Jericho's mentioned before that this is never a one-time deal for him. And depending on the success of this, which I'm sure was very successful, it's not going to be all positives. There'll be negatives about it too. What we could have done better, what could have been done better, the services and things of that nature, which all will get worked out in time. But I do feel there'll be a second one, and if there's a second one, we'll do the best we can to be a part of it as well.
All right, you guys, you've been listening to the High Spot Podcast. You can follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. This show will be up, and you'll be enjoying this while watching Crown Jewel. We'll recap Crown Jewel on the next week's episode, so we're going to get back to the norm here as we head back into the winter months. We are in the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas. The next thing you know, it'll be 2019, and you'll be enjoying it with the Jersey Wrecking Crew. So as far as we're concerned, guys, thank you so much. We'll be back to the norms next week, but hope you enjoyed this episode. Very special, the Diary of the High Spot Podcast at sea at the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager, Trendsetter. Man, thank you so much, Trendsetter. Looking forward to next week's show.
Looking forward to it, guys. And you've been listening to the High Spot Podcast. For my tag team partner, Jeff Martin, I'm the Trendsetter, Brian Brega, wishing you guys a happy weekend. We will see you next week with our normal, regularly scheduled program. And remember, we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.
Oh, yeah!